Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 1 of the Red Devils Corner Kick podcast, a podcast dedicated to Manchester United Football Club. My name is Jim. I will be your host, coming to you from Canada. Welcome to the very first episode, everyone, to all those that are listening. Definitely a little nervous about discussing, this football club. It's, joining a vast community of many fan podcasts I'd love to talk about Manchester United Football Club. Listen, lots of stuff going on tonight that I'm going to be talking about. Again, this first episode, I'll be discussing that. We have the Arsenal match that's going on tomorrow. We have the protest that's also going on tomorrow as well. And also making my predictions, talking about what the squad's going to hopefully look like for tomorrow. Because again, do we see the young guns come out for tomorrow against Arsenal? Because again, we have a big match next Thursday against Real Sociedad for the Europa. So the question is, are we going to have many players playing tomorrow that we really need for next Thursday? So we'll definitely be discussing that. So I will have my predictions for the squad. I do my predictions through the Manchester United Football Club app, like many of you. So definitely we'll have that posted out. I do have social media for the podcast, Red Devils Corner Kick podcast on Instagram. So do check that out. Give it a follow. I will have Twitter and YouTube channel coming soon. Just getting all the kinks out, especially with starting with this podcast. Again, I mentioned I'm part of a unique group. I'm part of a big, vast following of many fans who have their own Manchester United football podcasts that talk about this club. I know there's many out there. I do listen to some of them as well. And you know what? A lot of you turned your passion to something that you want to discuss, and I'm going to do the same. I've done podcasts in the past. I've had a podcast before. So I'm here now, starting fresh again, talking about, a soccer club that I love. Sorry for that. I'm talking to you all the way from Canada, so I do apologize that I said it as soccer. I do mean it as football as well to all those listeners, because again, we are a worldwide club. The sport is worldwide. So I know some of us here in North America may refer to it as soccer. I will do my best to make sure that I am mentioning it as football as well. So my apologies. It is episode 1. Again, nervous, lots to talk about. And again, I'm here to talk about a club that I love. I've been a fan for years, and again, I'll even mention it that when I became a fan, it was part of the bandwagon. United was the biggest club on stage. They were winning, dominating. Listen, they're there. They're winning the Premier League. They're known as the biggest club in the world. Listen, and as you grow with the sport, you're going to see, yes, Man United is one of those top clubs throughout all the world that everyone's going to know. It's like in North America, I'm going to mention them, the Yankees. You're going to talk about them. They're the biggest team in baseball, the biggest history. You're going to talk about them. It's like the New England Patriots for the NFL when Tom Brady was there, kind of like what the Chiefs are now, the big teams that, that were dominating and just global branding. Maybe I shouldn't use the Chiefs as an example, but what we saw with the Patriots, what we saw with the Yankees during the time with Manchester United, just dominating the sport. Listen, it's going to be a long road for this club. I'm not going there. I'm going to be with you as well down that road. Listen, this episode, it's episode 1. I'm going to have some frustrations with the episode today. Well, I shouldn't say frustrations with the episode. I will be expressing frustrations about this football club on today's episode. I'm sure, like many of you listening in, that if you want to express your frustrations with this club, everyone's first episode of a podcast may go on for about 6 months, because I think with the way things have been going on, especially since the Ineos took over the last year, and with the Glazers, with everything going on in the last 10 years since our last Premier win. Sure. When I say Premier win, I mean Premier League championship, and like everything that's been going on since they purchased the club. Listen, it hasn't been the greatest. Don't get me wrong, when they first purchased, we saw greatness, we saw Champions League, we saw multiple Premier League titles. So we're here now at a different stage. And I know everything changed after Sir Alex. I know it's hasn't been great, to say the least. That's probably the nicest way I'm putting it for those that are listening and then those that understand when I say it hasn't been great. Listen, it's definitely been a long road where we think that there may be no end in sight. And hopefully, I hope that we will see a light at the end of this journey where we're hosting the Premier League again. We're top of the table. We're dominating in Champions League football. We're hoping that we're back to what I remember, what most of the world remembers, what the past was. And here we are, staring, I don't want to say death in the face, but we're staring, at a road where we don't know where it's going to go. We don't. There's many turns. And I know this season in general has not been the way we wanted it. Listen, I can repeat everything that's been already said to you again and again and again, from what happened at the end of last season to the beginning with Ten Hag, to the transfer to Rube, to now Amorim as the manager. So, but it hasn't been the easiest season. The signings that we brought in last season, who I was a fan of, the one thing we struggled with last year was depth on D and not having the right personnel. But here we are now looking to try to go forward, try to get this club back to what we are, what we're going to be, hopefully grow again. We're talking about Manchester United football. We're trying to get that back. And again, like I said, I can be on here for 6 months expressing frustrations about this club and how everything's been run and how everything's been going, changing managers, players, blaming players. Here we are. But again, it's just everything has just not been the greatest. And you know what? I get it. Like, we want the glory days back. We want those days of Sir Alex. And again, before Sir Alex, and even when Sir Alex started, there weren't. It's similar to what we're facing now. There wasn't a light at the end of the tunnel for what many people thought when Sir Alex took over the club. In that mid to late 80s, we saw what happened to that club. We saw the same thing, and people were going for Sir Alex as well. And then eventually we saw that. And I know the last 10 years has, manager after manager after manager. And you know what? It's not fun seeing it. We need to rebuild. We need to retune, get ourselves back to a club where we know we can grow the culture again of winning, grow a culture of history and trophies. And we've been happy with the last 2 years or 3 years with, 2 trophies, something that didn't happen for 6 years without a trophy. So we finally got some silverware back, but it's going to take time. And I'll be honest here right now, and I'll get it off my chest. I was a fan of Ten Hag. I did want him to stay. Like some that wanted him gone right away, but we see what happened there. I'm not going to say the players, some players did show up for him, some players did not. Ten Hag did show faith in many players that those players did not return to him in dividends, to say the least. Right there, you know who those players are. But again, he tried to build something. Sometimes he was a little too honest with certain things, but he tried to build upon it and try to he didn't get his system in, but he tried to build something where the plan was to try and get itself to a league title. That's what we're looking at here. And now we have the transition to Ruud. Now we have Ruben Amorim, and Ruben Amorim's trying to get his system in. And his system's there. His formation is there. And yes, we can talk about how the players don't fit. We can talk about how the players don't fit until the cows come home. We know that. That's nothing new. That's nothing new about what's going on. The thing is, do we have the players to build the right environment? We're seeing growth. We've seen development. We saw what De Ligt has become, how he's just great in the back end. We've seen the maturity and the growth of Xerxes. We saw the doubt there, like earlier on, and we've seen him, I would say, not redeem himself, but mature into a player that is developing and showing that he's now adapting to the Premier League. And that's what I think was there. He was adapting. He was growing. And that's the one thing I was a little upset with when Ten Hag got let go, is just we built a squad. It does take time. And the question is what could have been, what Ruben did for certain players. Ten Hag could have done that? We don't know. But with Ruud now, and I'm happy Ruud's here, I'm happy with the way he's trying to instill his system, how he's not going to change it. And I'm very happy that he's going to fight for it, because I know for many years, people were like, when is Ten Hag going to do his system? He came out and said the players couldn't play a system, so that's why he had the way they were playing then. But now we have a system where the players don't apply to it. It's amazing how one manager said the one thing, and we're seeing it exactly how it is with this one. So here we are. And you know what? It's going to take time. I hope Ruben Amorim's here for a long time. I hope we build a squad to get themselves back. I hope this organization backs the manager. I hope they don't listen to the stupid media that's there. Yes, Sky Sports, BBC, some pundits on Talk Sports, because I know there's pundits on there that do support Man United and do back it up. But there's some of them there that, you know what, they say one thing about, hey, you know, the players, it's not the players' fault, it's the manager. The manager won't change the system. But again, it's those same ones that were chasing Ten Hag out, chased Ollie out, changed Marino out. Like you're seeing those pundits that are still there putting pressure on the club to say you're not doing things right. And you know what? The organization, Ineos, Sir Jim, they all need to ignore BBC, Sky. And I know it's hard when you're Manchester United. I know it's difficult to just think, you know what, here we are. Let's just, you know, not sweep it under the rug. Let's listen to it. But they have to build a system. They have to rebuild the culture of Manchester United. And again, I'm playing a tune that has been played all season, and I'm not the only podcast who's discussing it. I'm not the only fan channel that's going to be out there continuing to talk about it. But here we are. This is what we're going to be. And I'm sorry that I spent my first episode discussing this part, repeating what the rest of the world has. But it is what it is. And you know what? It's hopefully for a change. And you know what? The one thing too is I love Ruben's, you know, no filter. I love how he explains everything that's going on. You know, listen, he's there. I want him to stay. I want him to, you know, hoist the Premier League trophy when we win it. When we finish top of the table, we bring the Premier League title back to Manchester United. I do. And I really hope that it's him hosting it. And I really hope it's Bruno Fernandes hosting it as our captain. I am a fan of his. I do like some of the players on this. I mentioned Xerxes. I like how the maturity of him growing. Matthias de Ligt. The resurgence of Harry Maguire with the club over the last couple of years. It sucks not having Licha. You know, Emmanuel Ugarte. I'm happy with the signing that we got from him. I'm happy that he's a player that's familiar with Amorim. So we see that growth there. Dorgu, who, you know, unfortunately he's not playing tomorrow. He's serving his ban for the red card against Ipswich. Again, I was happy that we got the win for that match. But again, it does suck that we did lose him. But we have him for the game next Thursday, which is a big match at home at Old Trafford. But here we are, you know, there's players here that can do it. And these players needed time. Like, the one thing is, and I will call out those pundits that, like, BBC, Talk Sports, Sky, you know, ESPN, all those, and some current Man United fan channels as well. Some of these players needed time. Like, when you're coming to a league, especially when we as fans, players, everyone, ex-players as well, hold the Premier League in such high regard. It's the number one league in the world. We do. But again, like when you're coming from different systems, like again, what was it? Xerxes came from Syria. Mazraoui and De Ligt came from Bundesliga. Ugarte came from PSG, so the French league. You have Amarin, who's coming over from the Portuguese league. He's got to learn to adapt to this, how his play is going to be. Like, don't get me wrong, his formation's there, is going to stay, and I hope it stays. And the system will be there, and he's going to probably find a ways to adapt it to the league. We see how well it's played against some of the big six clubs. We saw against Man City a couple times, but we're going to take our time to get this right, and I hope so. And I think with the growth of these signings that we had, Lenny Euro, which again, it sucked not seeing him at the beginning of the season due to his injury, which he got in the first preseason game last summer. But he's been great as well. They've all been great, those signings. They really have. But again, it takes time to grow into this league. And again, those those channels that I mentioned, BBC, some of them one or two either fail or just nothing. Like that's basically it. And I shouldn't just say fail or nothing, because it was fail or nothing. That was it. It does take time to come to this league. Mazraoui kicked it off right away. De Ligt as well. Ugarte did take his time to come in just because with the situation. But here we are. And now, I know Xerxes at the beginning, we saw him score that first match. Here we are. And he had some time where it didn't work out well. It didn't. We saw him get booed off by some of our fans after the Newcastle match. We saw that it happened. We saw where it went. But here we are, and you've seen the maturity grow with him. I just saw on the news today, many people reporting, and many other fan channels talking about him staying late, working on his shot, being the last one to leave training. That is something you love to hear. That's something you'd love to hear and talk about, especially with a new signing. You're seeing that there. It is. It's a step in the right direction with the personalities. Listen, we still do have personalities in this locker room that, yes, individuality is there. We have players there that want to win, or be the reason they win, not be there to win with their teammates. That's what we're seeing here. And it's tough. I can name names. I know Bruno, our captain, can be like that most of the time. Garnacho, I've seen as of late, a lot lately, trying to be the reason to win, not be the reason to help us win. In that scenario, we've seen those shots. I know Rasmus is not having the season we hoped, especially when his first season he started off slow, but we saw it pick up. He's incredible in Europe. At the Euros, like we saw him in Champions League, we saw him in the early stages of Europa. He can score in Europe. He can. But right now we're seeing players just not be at their best. And it's not just, those ones that I named. Like, even our new signings have had bad games. We have people that have been there for a long time not showing up. We saw with Rashford at the beginning, Anthony is a great player. Like, he's a talented player, but again, those players, they were not doing the best for the beginning of the season. We saw them go to their temporary new clubs, and we see them succeeding. They are playing well. Let's not hide the fact. And the question is, it's how can they do that there but not with us? But listen, again, this is the same tune that's been sung all season. It's been the same tune sung since the transfer window closed. And then, Anthony scores his first goal. You're seeing Rashford get plenty of assists, playing in Champions League. Here we are. It is. It's a lot. So, but listen, I'm kind of got that off my chest. Here we are. But let's talk about a couple of things for tomorrow. We got the protest going on tomorrow, led by the 1958 fan group. They're there to protest the Glazers, push for a full sale, get the Glazers out with everything that's going on. And I hope it will be a peaceful podcast. It's not a podcast. It will be a peaceful protest. Listen, I know everyone would be like, oh, let's hope that the game gets canceled. I don't want a game to get canceled. I hopefully do watch it, but at the same time too, I wouldn't be upset if the game did get canceled tomorrow by the result of the success of the protest. But again, it's going to be a peaceful one. They're not going to, from my understanding, they're not going to do anything that would affect the game, but they are going to try and push for the Glazers out. And I'm with them with it. Like, they have their right. If anyone knows the history of the 58, you know why it was created. It's a fan, like, they're doing this for us. They're doing it for everyone here in North America that supports the club, all fans around the world to support this club. And listen, again, I mentioned it hasn't been an easy 10 years. It kind of hasn't been easy since Sir Alex has left. It hasn't been easy since the Glazers did the purchase. And I said that to some, like, Sir Alex did protect those players and this fan base for how bad the Glazers really truly were when they came on. But the $1 billion in debt is just incredible. Like, the fact that they've done this and hurt this club in that way. And you know what? A big shout out to Ruben Amorim, our manager, for showing his support towards the protest. Like, the one thing too is I would love to hear the players' thoughts on the protest, what they're going to say. Give them a voice as well. What would they say? And I'm sure our captain, Bruno, would have loved to express his feelings. I'm sure he has, because we know we got the reports of trying to pay for employees' Christmas parties, trips down to the FA Cup last year. Like, I guarantee you the players are hurting as much as we are with everything going on. And I would love to hear or love to see players join that protest. And we know that they won't. But come on. Like, we would love to hear what the players are saying. And I know you have others, ex-players, expressing it. But at the same time, too, well, actually, you know what? Some ex-players are not even really saying anything in regards to this organization. Like, they can criticize the teams, the players, and everything, but they're not going to look at what's really going on, the job losses, the debt. Some of these players were part of this club with that debt going on. Like, and we consider those the legends of this club. They were there. But where are they now? Where are they now? Will they be standing with the fans there tomorrow at the protest? Will they be there by their side saying, push these Glazers out? It's remarkable. Like, I shouldn't say remarkable. I should really correct that. I should say it's a real shame that they're not. And I like, they talk about the badge. They talk about playing for this club, the history, the glory, what Sir Alex would have done. Will Sir Alex be there with us? Like, will he be marching with the fans? He's been with there. He saw firsthand what the Glazers were doing. So are we going to see that? I wish for all those people that are going to be at the protest tomorrow, great success. I really do. Unfortunately, I am across the pond in Canada, so I cannot be there to join hand in hand. For those fans that are listening for the first time, and I know posts have been going out, please wear black in black for the protest. I know that's what they were saying, but we'll see. Will we see fans tomorrow wearing black during the game, during Arsenal? And listen, I know I didn't want to start I know the podcast when I launched it, like I knew when it was coming out that, you know, this is going to be, you know, I wouldn't say this is kind of the right time to start it. But when I started it at the same time too, I was just like, did I really want this to be the discussion of the first episode? But you know what? It was going to get discussed anyways, whether it's episode 1 or episode 100 of this podcast. I'm here to discuss this football club. Listen, and I'm here in North America. I know who the Glazers are for the owners of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mentioned on an old podcast that I still try to run. I do. I've mentioned it on a Twitter feed. Listen, the money that they poured out of our club, did that go to the build of some of the stuff for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Because we know that dividends were being pulled out. Nothing was being put back into the club. Were they using the finances, the money that they were making, the profits that they were getting? Were they putting that towards Tampa? All the money they were taking out that should have been put back in, were they putting that towards other ventures? So, like the $1 billion debt, when they bought it, they basically put some of it on debt. And again, like there's talks even from what the Glazers said, and like the Glazers don't want Manchester United playing at Tampa Bay because they're afraid that the players will react to what they have in Tampa Bay, the facility, their new, what was it, $80 million facility that they just built a couple of years ago, fully state of the art. And here we are with Ineos, due to the Glazers making cutbacks, removing stuff. Like here we are. Like it's going back to what Ronaldo said on Piers Morgan. And listen, that whole situation with Ronaldo and us, that's one thing. But we're here to. But he was kind of right with what he said about the way the club was. Everything was still the same from when he left. Nothing looked like it improved. Everything was still there. The facilities, nothing has been there. But here we are. We're here to, talk about. I feel like I'm just going to start rambling on, but like right now it's a disaster. Let's leave it there. With everything that we have, everything going on, it's a disaster with this club and the Glazers. And again, to the 58 that are going to be there, and to all those fans that are joining that protest tomorrow, and I hope it's like, and for the fans that are coming in from out of town, like it's global. Like everyone's gonna, like, for those fans that are traveling out of town, I wonder are you going to be joining as well? Like I said, if I was there, I'd be joining the protest. I would be. I'd be wearing black, marching down, and with my fellow Manchester United fans as we go down, with my fellow Red Devils. There we go. With my fellow Red Devils supporters going there and protesting, get the Glazers out. And you know what? Again, I hope for fans that are going there, fans that are going to watch the game, I hope they understand how big this is. I hope they maybe have an idea of maybe joining the protest and doing the march. It's for those fans that have been there through it all. And before the Premier League, everything we want to see, like we're proud. I'm proud of the fan base from the 1958 going there and doing what they're doing. Thank you for giving us the voice. Thank you for doing what you're doing to help with this club, help get it back to what it is. So listen, again, tomorrow, I know we have Arsenal. I know many people know that it's not really that big of a match, but everything's going to be focused on the protest. And the media, we know what they're going to say. We saw what they did to representatives of the 1958 this week. I saw them on interviews on other fan channels, and we know what they're doing. But we want to see this. We need this. The fans need it. The organization needs to see this. And I hope Ineos takes notes. And I do. And I'm happy that the manager is giving his support of all this. So, but there's a lot to go on. So listen, it's a big episode, lots to discuss again. I know I've spent first bit expressing my frustrations, next a little bit talking about the protest, what's going on. But listen, we are playing Arsenal tomorrow. We have a match tomorrow, which is a big one. I will be posting my squad prediction for what's going on tomorrow. I made a prediction after the Real Sociedad, just because, we're going to see what it's going. We're going to see what the squad is going to be like. There's going to be some different players. The one thing I was thinking of for tomorrow's match was young players getting in. I would love to see Obi Martin get more minutes. again, we have Real Sociedad next Thursday. I wouldn't be upset if Obi was playing tomorrow. I really hope I would love to see him start tomorrow. Nothing against Rasmus, but I'd love to see him start. You can bring Rasmus in for some extra minutes, but let's see some youth get in there. Let's there. And again, when I made my prediction, and unfortunately, the Manchester United football app that I do the predictions with hasn't fully updated everything. Ahmad is still showing there. Don't get me wrong, he's still part of the club, but he's not starting. Obi hasn't been added on into it, so we can't really make him as a selection, but we'll see what happens. Again, Ugarte, Maguire, both were not in the match on Thursday. We will probably see them tomorrow just so they can get some minutes in before they go next week. So again, the match is important no matter what, but at the same time too, it really isn't just because we want to improve in the table, but Arsenal is a very talented club. Listen, I'm going to hope for a win like I always do. No matter what the record is or how we're playing, I'm always going to go for the win. Sometimes I'll be honest with myself and I might put in a loss because you just know. But realistically, I'm always going to hope for a win. No matter where we are or how bad we're doing, I'm always going to hope for the win. I do. And sometimes, again, like I mentioned, sometimes I'm going to tell myself it's going to be a loss. It will. But listen, tomorrow is going to be a game where we're going to see a rotation. We are. It's going to be a different lineup than what we saw on Thursday. You're going to see some players that did play Thursday that played the whole game, probably playing again, like Bruno Fernandes. I have him starting. I have Onana starting because, again, Bayender is still injured. I have Heaven starting tomorrow. I have him starting tomorrow. Get him in. Like when he's been brought in, he has shown what he's capable of doing. I have him, De Ligt, and Euro together. Again, like you may see Maguire get put on. You might see Harry Amass play a little bit tomorrow, bring those players on just for rotation. But I would see the Heaven getting the start. I think for the minutes that he's been brought in. Just because the reason why I haven't been brought in is because we have no left back. Again, Dorgu is out for the suspension, 3-game ban. So I got Mazraoui playing on the left, Dalot out on the right. Actually, you know what? Chances are it's going to be Dalot on the left and Mazraoui on the right, but I would like to see Mazraoui play on the left. He can play left and right. So the question is, can they push forward? Chances are Mazraoui is going to be on the right. Dalot is going to be on the left. I got Toby Collier, getting put in the middle with him and Ugarte. Like Ugarte's got to play. He's got to get healthy. And in the words of Amorim, he wants to make sure he gets through this game without any injuries. Because again, next Thursday is the big match. It is. It's a very important match next week. Like let's not throw that under the rug. That game next Thursday has more importance than tomorrow's game against Arsenal. And I'm sorry for those fans but it is. Like I would like for us to go up in the table, get into the top half, play better, and get the win. But if we're talking about importance, next Thursday is the priority. And I think tomorrow you're going to see Ruben make those choices, and you're going to see some players that don't usually play tomorrow. So like I said, Collier, Ugarte in the middle, Mazraoui, Dalot out on the outside, and you're going to see those players get switched out, probably. You may see Collier play for the majority. You're going to probably take Ugarte out just because you have to get him some minutes. He was out. Like he's going to be rested, but again, you want to give him some minutes. Take him out. You can always bring in Casemiro in. So you're going to see that. So, and I got Eriksen starting along Fernandes, Xerxes, Garnacho. I feel like they'll bring him on for some minutes. Like Xerxes looked exhausted. Like the last couple of games that we've seen on the FA Cup game, as well as Thursday night, you saw exhaustion. I'm not going to deny that. He looked exhausted last week when we watched it. When I watched that FA Cup round, he did. You saw him when you saw him moving around. He looked exhausted, and even Thursday he looked tired as well. So hopefully he won't be starting. I don't see him both starting. Even Amorim said Garnacho looked tired, took him off. I see those players coming off the bench, probably play for the final third if needed. But the goal is to make sure you get out of this match without any injuries. And that's what I'm leaving it here. I do. And you're going to have to see that. So I feel like nothing against Rasmus. Rasmus will probably get either come in off the bench or see him start. But when I post it, I have Hoyland starting. He may start. But again, I feel like Obi's going to come in and get those. I mean, he's going to get more minutes than he has in the previous. And I know this fan base wants him starting up front for how well he played. And I'm not taking away anything, but he is 17. He's still a young buck. Let him play. And I said young buck. Remember, I just want to make that clear. I said buck. Just give him time. Give him time to develop, grow. And you know what? Part of it is too, Heaven and Obi both came from Arsenal. They came over from Arsenal at the beginning of the season. So we signed them, they joined. So here we are. We have that there. So tomorrow's game is going to be about rotation. You're going to see some players that were there Thursday not start, probably come off the bench for some extra minutes just so you can keep their legs fresh, or keep their legs, I shouldn't say fresh, but warm, ready to go. So it will be exciting I shouldn't say exciting. It will be interesting to see what tomorrow's match is. Listen, I hope for a win. I really do. And I know everyone's freaking out because of what Arsenal did to PSV, scoring 7-1. Like, any game, anything can happen in a game. Again, like, what was it, 2 years ago? Well, we went on that hot streak. We went on an incredible run until we lost the 7-0 to Liverpool. Again, games like that happen. And I know a lot of people are expecting that as well. Onana has been, yes, you can say hit or miss, more miss on the hit, but here we are. That's what it is. So, again, I do like my lineup. Onana, Heaven, De Ligt, Euro, Dalot, Collier, Ugarte, Masrari, Eriksson, Hoyland, and Fernandes. That's who's going to be there. And yes, will we see more? Maybe Bruno and Dalot get some time off, or they get taken off early for their rest, because even Bruno from time to time looks tired. He does. He could probably use a little bit of a rest, but let's see how it goes. That's probably what's going to happen too with the change, with bringing on Xerxes and Garnacho. They'll probably take off Eriksson and Fernandes, Obi for Hoyland, Casemiro for Ugarte, and you'll probably see Maguire come on for a minute or two. Or even that, probably just give Maguire the extra day and see Harry Hamas come in. But you're going to see some young players on there, and you're going to see some rotation. That's what we're going to get tomorrow. Rotation is going to be key, and you're going to see some youth players probably coming in tomorrow, which, again, everyone's excited to see, but it's going to be an interesting match tomorrow, just to say the least, because how focused we are on next Thursday. And that's what we're leaning towards. It's next Thursday, Real Sociedad. And I'll do an episode before that. I'm going to try and do an episode after tomorrow's match too. I'll do a recap. It'll be a late one, but I'll discuss it. But again, we have a lot of stuff going on in the next 24 hours of this football club. And as much as it's Arsenal versus Manchester United, we have the protest tomorrow. We have a busy day tomorrow for a fan base. And the question is, how is the fan base going to react? And what are the Glazers going to do? Are they going to do anything? Like, is this actually going to push them out of the club? We don't know. But hopefully more protests go through. And I know Liverpool had their protests years ago. And, you know, we're not going to try and push and cancel games, but we're going to try and push and find ways to get the Glazers out. And they're going to do it within the right way and the peaceful ways. But to all those that are doing the protest tomorrow, again, like I mentioned, I wish you all the best of luck, and I thank you for those that are doing the protest. I really do like to say thank you to them. But going back to the match, Arsenal, they're one of the best teams in the league. They're top two. They're chasing Liverpool. They have to go after them. They're playing well in Champions League. Again, they just won 7-1. But tomorrow it's going to be about the youth. You're going to see rotation. Again, my prediction is going up. I would like Obi to start, but I think Højlund's probably going to start. You're going to bring on Obi later on. It all depends on the pace of the game. It really does. So we'll see how it goes. If anything's updated with the app, I'll make those changes and throw it on. And I'll be posting everything on Instagram, Twitter, and again, YouTube are coming later. So, but yeah, that's basically episode. Well, it's best I could to kick off episode 1 of the Red Devils Corner Kick podcast. It's here we are for the start of the journey, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are. To all those that are part of this fan base, here we are. We're here. We're ready to go. And you know what? It's gonna be a long road, and I'm gonna be here with you as long as I can be doing this podcast. I know how much work it does to go into a podcast. I hosted one for prior one, and I'm going to get back into that one too, but hosted it for about 3 years. A lot of episodes recorded, over 200 episodes on that one, and I know the energy that it takes to go into recording an episode, producing it, writing it, and to all those Manchester United fan channels, podcasts that do this, and they've dedicated their time and everything, and I respect and praise all those. And to be fair, when I do a post-match reaction episode, I'm going to express frustrations. Like I said, I'm going to be like, my podcast may be similar to others. I'm going to try and bring a different aspect to it compared to others. And there's going to be times where I'm not going to agree with all the other channels. It's the truth. There are days when you do this, and I've learned it. There are days you're going to agree with them, days you're not going to like them, and days that you're not going to stand them. And it's probably going to do the same thing because again, this is episode 1. I'm not expecting to hit it out of the park with my first episode, and I'm expecting to grow as I go with this channel, with all of you. But it's the journey. It's going to take time. But again, like I said, there's going to be times where people are not going to agree with what I said about Manchester United, about the players, or what I think about the good things, the bad things with Amorim, or even the good things and bad things with the squad, the organization. I'm going to have a different opinion than someone else. And all I ask is just understand that I'm going to have a different opinion. That's all I'm going to say. I know you, the fan base, for everyone in the fan base, we all have different opinions on players, coaches, history, everything. We all have different opinions. So again, I'm going to have different opinions than some other channels. I'm going to have different opinions on some fans. You know what? There's going to be a time where I'm going to do an episode where I'm going to sound different than an episode that I did before, where I may sound like I went opposite on an opinion from a previous episode. But this is, here we are. But again, welcome to the first episode. My goal is to try and do episodes after every match, do an episode before the matches. So you're going to see more and more episodes multiple times a week. Listen, it's going to be tough to try and do it. I will be posting on social media. I will be posting posts. I've made 2 posts, showed my trip to Old Trafford last year. I was there last May. Saw my first match at Selhurst Park against Crystal Palace. Yes, I was at that match where we lost 4-0. Yeah, that's a story for another episode of another podcast, another episode. I was also at the Arsenal where we lost 1-0 that same week. Again, my trip there was incredible. I will explain that in another episode. But yes, I've been there, and I will talk about time visiting there, the sites, the tours, everything that they have. being an away fan at another park, it's incredible. It really is. But here we are. Again, I'm going to do as many episodes as I can. Mostly going to be doing predictions. I'm going to do fan ranking. I'm going to do my own rankings. I will talk about the past. It's there. I might give what I've done before is, I'll give my man of the match. I will give my top 5 performers. I may do it similar to the way they do in hockey, the 3 stars. I will give rankings. There'll be a day where I'm going to do an episode where I'm going to talk about, top 10 wingers, best goalies, top 5, give you my all-time 11 for Manchester United. I will do rankings. I will talk about the history of the club. I will do rankings, bringing in some of the past, because again, it's part of it there. And there's going to be times where I'm going to give opinions that some may not like, but here we are. Here we are, starting off a new journey, and I'm looking forward to it. I am. And my first episode went a little bit long, but here we are, looking forward to talking about a new journey with Manchester United. And so, welcome again. I know I've said welcome multiple times, but welcome to the Red Devils Corner Kick podcast. Episode 1 is here we are. It's the end. Looking forward to the next one. So next one, I will definitely do a recap of Arsenal versus Manchester United. Talk about what's going on with the week, what Amram may have to do for the next match, the importance of next Thursday. Again, all we have is Europa and just Premier League games. That's all we have. And hopefully next Thursday we can continue on in Europa. If that's it, then that's it. Then it's just matches it's just EPL matches going forward. That's it. That's it. We're all out of tournaments. We're out of the Carabao Cup, or we're out of the FA Cup. And then all we have is Europa. Like a lot of pressure going into next Thursday, and that's why I think tomorrow you're going to see a different change with the team. The formation will still be the same. We know Ruben's not going to change it, but we know Amarim, and I know I've been going off saying his first name and his last name. But we know Amarim's definitely going to keep his formation, but we're definitely going to see rotation, or we're going to see some youth tomorrow. That's what my prediction is. So I know you're all going to have it. Don't be afraid to express it. If you want to send me a DM on Instagram, you can. But again, we're here for the road ahead. So again, thank you for all those that are listening for the first time. More episodes to come, and I'm excited to do this. Again, let's hope for a win tomorrow. Good luck to all those participating in the protest tomorrow. Good luck again. And again, thank you to all those that are participating. For all those that can't be there, you'll have our support. But make sure it's peaceful, respectful. Show the ownership how this fan base feels. But again, thank you again to all those that are doing the protest. Good luck to the squad tomorrow against Arsenal. I am nervous. It's a match. It's a big match. But again, good luck to the squad tomorrow. It's not the season that we wanted, but it's the season that we have right now. So all we can do is just move forward and go on and still support the Red Devils that we do all the time. But that's it for episode 1 of the podcast. Again, thank you. I will be back with a new episode after the Arsenal match, giving a post game, discussing, and then I'll be back before the Real Sociedad match. So again, episodes usually are going to be trying to be out before the day before matches, and sometimes either after the match or probably the next day, just giving a post reaction. But again, thank you again for all those that are listening. Episode 1 is in the books. Have yourself a good weekend. Let's hope for a united win, and let's hope for a successful protest tomorrow as well. Have a great night. This is Jim. Glory, glory, Man United.